I never thought I'd come home to find my garage transformed into a landfill of discarded dreams-cracked armchairs, a headless mannequin, and a bizarre assortment of mismatched curtain rods. Yet, there it was, a towering monument to chaos, stacked to the rafters like a scene from a dystopian flea market. When I confronted the HOA president, Linda, about this madness, she smirked and said, "Oh, didn't you know? Your garage is part of our new community storage program." I stared dumbfounded as she handed me a dog-eared packet of bylaws, printed in a font that screamed unhinged and riddled with spelling errors. That was the moment I decided to fight fire with fire, metaphorically, at least. Or maybe not, because 5 days later, I was live streaming on social media, grinning like a rogue auctioneer, ready to sell every piece of that junk to an audience of 50,000 strangers. It all started 3 weeks earlier, in the sticky summer of 2024, when I returned to my quiet cul-de-sac in Asheville, North Carolina, after a grueling work trip. My driveway was blocked by a U-Haul truck, and my garage door gaped open like a wound. I was still dragging my suitcase when I saw two guys wrestling a splintered ping-pong table inside, its edges scraping my pristine concrete floor. "Hey, what's this?" I shouted. They barely glanced up. "HOA orders, man," one muttered, tossing in a box labeled "Broken Holiday Gnomes." I stormed up the driveway, dodging a pile of warped vinyl records, and there was Linda, leaning against the truck like a budget supervillain, her sunglasses perched on her nose despite the gray sky. "The HOA board voted to use excess garage space for community storage," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "You were gone, so we figured you'd be fine with it." I stood there, speechless, as her words sank in. My garage was my sanctuary, clean, organized, smelling faintly of pine and engine grease. Now it reeked of mildew and despair. When I tried to close the door, Linda blocked me. "Obstructing the process violates Section 7. Something or other," she said, waving her hand vaguely. I laughed a sharp, unhinged sound and walked away before I did something I regret, like turning her clipboard into kindling. Over the next week, the junk multiplied like a virus. A stack of dented filing cabinets appeared, followed by a crate of cracked flower pots, for mismatched snow shovels, and a velvet painting of cats in tuxedos that stared into my soul. One morning, I opened the door to find a life-size plastic skeleton in a tiara and a half-melted wax figure that looked vaguely like a former president. My cat, Whiskers, hissed and refused to go near it. The smell had turned toxic, forcing me to wear a mask just to reach the washer. I tried filing complaint with the HOA, but Linda had locked the board's email and phone line behind a flimsy system upgrade excuse. The city shrugged, saying it was a private matter. That's when I realized this wasn't about storage, it was about power. Linda was flexing, and I was her punching bag. But she didn't know me. I'm stubborn, and I'm petty. And petty is a superpower when you've got Wi-Fi and a grudge. I started documenting everything: photos, videos, a daily log, like I was chronicling a war. The turning point came when a neighbor, Tim, whispered that Linda had faked a vote to push through her storage initiative. I hadn't voted, and neither had 5 others I talked to. That was my opening. The idea for the live auction hit me while watching a reality show about storage unit sales. If Linda wanted to treat my garage like a dump, I'd turn it into a circus. I tidied just enough to make the junk look oddly appealing, set up cameras, and posted teasers online. "HOA gifted me a junkyard. Mega sale this Saturday." The response was electric. Comments poured in. "Is this real? I'm graben popcorn." I slipped a flyer under Linda's door just to twist a knife. On Saturday, I went live. "Welcome to the Great HOA Junk Purge, brought to you by bureaucracy and bad decisions," I said, grinning. Within minutes, I'd sold a chipped teapot for $30 and a rusty bike for $50. I gave each item a wild backstory. This lamp survived a secret HOA ritual. The chat exploded. Someone paid $15 to see me smash a stack of warped encyclopedias. Another sent $20 for a shout-out to Linda's clipboard. By the time I was auctioning a box labeled "Mystery Socks," Linda burst in, red-faced, screaming, This is theft. I turned to the camera. Actually, Linda, you faked a vote to invade my property. And this is all on tape. The chat went feral. She lunged for my phone, but I dodged, capturing her flailing for posterity. A local reporter, tipped off by the stream, showed up mid-chaos, asking for an interview. Linda threatened to call the cops. "Go ahead," I said, waving at the camera. "Do it on speaker for the fans." She stormed out, and I sold her old garden hose for $10. The stream ended with $2,500 in sales and 150,000 views. Memes of Linda's meltdown spread like wildfire. But the fight was far from over. The next morning, I found a handwritten violation notice taped to my door, accusing me of unauthorized public vending and inciting digital unrest. By noon, Linda had called the police, claiming I'd stolen valuable community assets. 2 officers arrived, Linda trailing them like a vengeful shadow, clutching a folder of printouts. I showed them my deed, my security footage of Linda breaking into my garage with bolt cutters, and a time-stamped video of her directing the junk drop-off. The officers exchanged looks. "So, she orchestrated this?" one asked. I nodded. They left, and Linda hissed, "You've made an enemy." I shrugged. "Pick a better garage next time." That night, I went live again, titled, "HOA tries to arrest me for selling their trash." I shared the notice, played the footage, and narrated like a true crime host. Viewers ate it up. Then Sarah, a former HOA board member, messaged me. She'd been ousted by Linda in a rigged election and had emails proving Linda's history of faking votes and bullying residents. That was my ammunition. I compiled every Thinjamails, videos, screenshots sent to a folder called HOA Takedown, and sent it to trusted neighbors. I also mailed copies to the board, urging an emergency meeting. Linda fought back with more notices, fining me for disruptive online activity and lowering property values. She even claimed Whisker's meowing was a nuisance, despite him being an indoor cat. I called my cousin, Jake, a lawyer who thrives on absurd battles. He crafted a letter accusing Linda of fraud, trespassing, and abuse of power, citing her own bylaws against her. I slid it under her door with a note. "Read this before fining me for existing." The showdown came at the HOA meeting in the community center. I arrived early, my phone streaming discreetly. Linda strutted in, preaching about community decay and unveiling a plan to seize problematic properties starting with mine. I stood, heart pounding, and read Jake's letter aloud, detailing her violations. When I played the clip of her laughing about breaking into my garage, the room gasped. A board member muted her mic. Another moved to suspend her. 3 of 5 voted yes. Linda stormed out, knocking over a chair as my stream hit 200,000 views. The next day, pink chalk scrawled "Tyrant No More" outside the center. Then I dropped the bombshell, a video from last year's block party, where tipsy Linda bragged about rigging the HOA election. I uploaded it, and it went viral. The city launched an inquiry into HOA practices. Résidents demandaient l'indaes permanent ban. By week's end, she was a ghoster name scrubbed from HOA records, her house dark. The neighborhood changed. We held a potluck, rewrote the bylaws, and elected Sarah as president. My garage became a community hub for donations and repairs. I kept streaming, selling the last of Linda's junk, a cracked mug here, a wobbly stool there. The city gave me a civic award, and my story spread, inspiring others to fight petty tyrants. One day, I found a box in my garage labeled Linda's Last Stand. Inside, a chipped vase, a faded ribbon, and her infamous clipboard. I auctioned it live for $70, donating the cash to a local charity. As I stood in my reclaimed garage, sunlight streaming in, I realized this wasn't just about junk. It was about fighting for what's yours when someone bets you'll stay quiet. And I didn't. What would you have done if my shoes rolled over or gone live? Should HOA boards have this much power? Drop your thoughts below, hit like, and subscribe for more stories of petty justice.